No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Absolutely, completely, 100%. What makes you think the Earth is evolved? Tell me, what makes you think the Earth is evolved?
Because there is no place where you can hold on.
So you're saying there's no place where you can fall off it?
Yeah.
Right, well, even in our model, there's no way you can fall off it. Yeah, because the Earth is like this, there's the North Pole in the centre.
Okay, so you think it's a ball which is a little bit
No,
more...
it's literally water with land coming out of it, yeah? And around the edge is Antarctica. A 200-foot wall of ice, 300 miles of ice plain, and 2-mile-high mountains. Yeah? That's how the water can't go anywhere. You can't go anywhere, because none of us are allowed to go to Antarctica.
Charlie.
Okay, and planes can go around planes like over the ice.
No plane has gone over the South Pole, the so-called South Pole. No plane's ever gone over it. The only one that has is Admiral Byrd, who took an expedition, military group across South Pole and came back, saying that as far as they went, they found more and more land.
Their resistance to death because you're going backwards.
Yeah, he came back and he did an interview on something called the Longines chronoscope.
But what makes you think that NASA is like that?
Because if you go and watch anything NASA puts out, if you sit there and study it long enough, you're going to start to see mistakes.
But what are the efforts that NASA has telling us a lie? What's the profits for NASA?
Well, on a basic level, they get something like $18.5 billion a year of our money. Yeah,
but they would also get it if Trump told us
No, because they're sending things up into space, and anything to do with space, you add like 3 or 4 zeros onto the end, right? Because it's hard to get into space. Yeah.
Yeah, but if the Earth was a plate, they would also.
No, because there's nowhere to go. There's no space.
In your model is no space.
There is no such thing as space.
So the Earth is the only one.
The Earth is the only place.
Because you would be on the place in the center. There is
sun and moon within the firmament. Yes.
Okay, but nothing else.
Nothing else beyond the firmament. It's what the Old Testament says.
Because you would be stuck in the middle.
And I said, I found this, and then somebody said, the Old Testament's a flat Earth book. I was like, is it? So I went and looked, and sure enough, the cosmology that we are discovering happens to be the same one that the Old Testament is talking about.
So you don't believe in like the solar system? We have like 7 planets that are orbiting the sun.
Oh yes, there are several lights that orbit around the light in the sky, the sun.
If you ever use a telescope, you can actually physically see the planets.
You can see blobs of light, flat discs of light, yes you can.
Right, but those flat discs of light are going to be flat discs of light no matter where you look at them when you're on the Earth. So surely at some angles, if it was a disc, it would look not like this perfect right point.
It's a light.
So, but the light would kind of, I don't know, it would emit in various different ways, depending on the angle you look at it, right? Rather.
It's a light. It's not a physical thing. It's a light.
It's just pure light.
Well,
Just like this. Something like this.
Well,
yeah. So
not the ball.
have you ever heard of sonoluminescence?
no.
Okay, if you put ultrasonic waves into water, at a certain frequency, the water starts to do something called cavitate, which makes bubbles. And in the middle of that bubble, literally the bubble expands and then collapses really quickly, and it creates a light. Okay, and so you get this light. Right? It's not. Yeah, it's a light that's like a star. They call it a star in a jar. Right? And it's not physical. It's a light. Yeah, and it's the same from all angles. It's not a sphere or it's not a disc. It's a light.
So they're not actual objects. They're just like
they're not
lights.
objects you can land on. No.
Okay,
and if you get a camera like a Nikon P900 camera, you can zoom in on the stars and the planets, and they do not look like you think they look.
So when people landed on the moon, that's fake. When they put the rover bars and stuff in the rover, that's not real.
The rover, okay. If you look into that rover, you'll find there's amongst the images that NASA took is something called an Arctic lemming. A dead Arctic lemming is in the shot. Yeah. Yes, it's called the Arctic lemming. Yeah. And you can the only place that the Arctic lemming lives is a place called Devon Island. Yeah, in Greenland. And you go to Devon Island, and NASA is moving rovers around. That's where Mars is, and there's pictures of Devon Island that match up to the pictures from Mars. Yes, you see the NASA vehicle.
They might have been testing out the versions, but they might not have actually been like recording like fake propaganda.
As I said, you can see the landscape that they're telling us is Mars on Devon Island.
Yeah, but if I was NASA and I wanted to test out rovers, I would test it out on those similar landscapes.
But they're sending us pictures, they're giving us pictures supposedly of Mars with the landscape of Devon Island and an Arctic lemming dead in one of their shots.
Blueprints, they were totally black.
Yes, and they have it. You can see a video where they do just that. A picture from Devon Island and the one from Mars, put it over the top, or identical.
And whose interest is it in to propagate what you would refer to as like the myth of the spherical planet? Like whose interest is that?
The control system of this world.
What is that exactly?
Well, there is an elite class in this world that are in control of this world, ruling over us right now. Yeah, and the only way they can rule over us is make it seem to us, to our own hearts and minds, that there are these powerful people who are above us in some way who can dictate to us. If you realise that you are one step below the Creator, there's nobody in between you and the Creator. Nobody can rule over us.
But how would like saying that the Earth is spherical as opposed to flat give them any more advantage? Why would it be still in their interest in understanding how if you're the ruling class, why it would make sense to say the Earth is round as opposed to flat?
When you combine the round Earth with the theory of evolution and the Big Bang theory, that relegates us to a tiny microbe clinging to a speck of dust in a hurtling through immense invisible void where no plan, no purpose, all happened by accident, and we're all accidental, and we're still evolving.
So I guess you could say they are trying to make it seem as though we're less significant than we are.
We're insignificant, and so powerful people can say, okay, all this happened by accident. You're insignificant. We're powerful. We have all the money. We're powerful. You do what we say, and this is how they've used our hearts and minds against us to push them above us.
Okay, I can see the logic, but do you not think that we live on a planet with 7 billion plus people? You don't think we live on a planet with 7 billion?
No, A, we don't live on a planet.
Okay,
and B, there ain't 7 billion people here.
We live on a landmass of 7 billion, right?
I don't agree with that.
So what part of this?
There's 7 billion.
How many humans do you think there are?
I'm not even sure we've got 1 billion.
Okay, well, even if we had 1 billion people, there are enough humans with enough resources that have access to private jets, or it's not in their interest to be in the ruling class.
No.
So you'll have have someone who's like a self-made millionaire, for example, and they might be curious and they might just do like a trip around the world, and they will actually go on their private yacht and sail from one location right the way around the earth.
Every time somebody makes it to become a self-made millionaire, doesn't happen often because the whole school system is against us becoming self-made millionaires. Yeah? When somebody does, Richard Branson is a good example. When he literally Virgin became successful selling records, at one point he got approached and he got told, you either do things the way we tell you to do or Virgin is going down the path. And at one point Virgin just went, it started to tank, and then Branson said, I'll do as you say. And all of a sudden he went skyrocketing. You either do as they say or you're out of business because they control money, they control commerce, they control all of that. So they can switch on money, fame and power and switch it off again.
And this class of people that you're talking about, they must have like a decent enough amount of numbers of power and resources to be able to keep tabs on everyone that falls into that category.
They don't have to. They create a system that means that we police each other.
I mean, like, life isn't a zero-sum game, right? So, like, if some people are doing well, it's not necessarily in their interest to make everyone around them like do worse so that they can gain more. It's actually
that's exactly what's happening.
But the way that it actually works is that if I scratch your back, you scratch mine. So it's like if you have a sort of collaborative project, oftentimes you achieve a greater level of accomplishment as opposed to being like I'm ignored everything for myself and life's a total zero-sum game. It's not like +1 -1. It's actually more like +1 +2 +3. Like it's like you build up.
Okay, you've got a few things to look at. The monetary system. Monetary system doesn't work the way you think it does.
Yeah, it does because wealth breeds wealth.
No.
Yes, it does.
Where does money come from?
Well, it comes from the bank, doesn't it?
Yeah, where does the money get it? Where does the bank get it?
Well, the governments create the money.
No, you create the money. Yeah.
No, I don't.
Okay, let me tell you. Right? You go into a bank for a loan. They present you with a loan agreement. Okay, and you sign it. And what you think happens is you sign the loan agreement. It's got £10,000 on it. Right? They take the loan agreement. They move £10,000 into your account. You spend it. Right? Now you owe them £10,000 with interest. Okay? It doesn't work like that. When you sign that loan agreement is a promissory note. You've created a promissory note saying, I promise to pay back 3 times the amount. Right? Look up the definition of a promissory note. I promise to pay the bearer. This is what this is. Exactly. As soon as you sign that promissory note, you've made that. Okay? You created it. Right? What they do is they take this and they cash it. They put it into escrow. They put it into account and they type in £10,000. And now you use that credit, not money, credit in their system. Right? And now they fool you into working for 30 years or whatever to actual physical labour to pay this thing back.
But I wouldn't say that you as an individual going to the bank and asking for a loan is you creating money. I would say that bank has money and they're giving you money.
They don't have.
When you only zero,
it's credit.
You can't,
it's typing in credit.
If I want to buy a house, right, I might not have the resources available to just buy that house outright. That's why I'd get a mortgage. But when I get a mortgage, I'm not generating a mortgage. That's the bank giving me a certain amount of money.
They don't give you money. You create it. Because let's go on from that loan.
No, because if you created the money, I could just create money willy-nilly, and then I'd be like, everyone would be like Richard Branson.
Well, this is why I got rid of $9,000 on my credit card while I still lived in America, right? By writing them a letter, exposing what they're doing, right? And the very first thing, even though I'd paid up I was up to date with my payments then, they sent it out to collection straight away. Because, right, I literally rumbled them and I showed them, this is what you're doing, I don't need to pay you back.
But we're getting a bit off track. We're talking about finance. Going back to the flat Earth.
Okay.
So on your diagram there, is that an ice wall that I'm seeing
Yes.
there? Okay, so beyond the ice wall, what goes on beyond this ice wall then? If one was to jump off the edge of the ice wall, what would happen to them?
Well, it doesn't end with this circle around here. Yeah. What I believe what's going on, according to Admiral Byrd and this 1,000-year-old map that was found in Hawaii, there's other continents beyond the ice. There are more continents strung around, and then there's a dome.
Then there's a dome. I see. So there's a finite amount of land masses that are encircled by ice, and they're all under a dome.
Yes.
Okay. And like, how large would you imagine this dome would be?
I don't know, but when Admiral Byrd came back from his expedition, the year after he came back, the Encyclopedia Americana for that year said under Antarctica there's a dome at 13,000 foot.
And what's the dome made out of?
I don't know. I've not been there.
Okay. So it's some sort of a dome. It's like the sky, effectively?
No, it's a physical dome.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I believe is going on is there is something that's not entirely physical. There's a barrier to stop us going any higher. And it's at 75 miles because there was a rocket that was sent up called the Go Faster rocket. You can find this on YouTube. Right? The Go Faster rocket. It went up and it was going up pretty fast. Got 7 cameras on it and it's spinning around really quickly. So it's really difficult to watch. But it gets to 75 miles up, still going, still shooting up and spinning, and then all of a sudden, dunk, and it stops spinning and it doesn't get any higher and it starts falling to earth. So if it was something physical stopping it, then it would have shattered, right? It would smash out into a million pieces. But something stopped. No. Well, if it ran out of fuel, it wouldn't just suddenly stop spinning and it wouldn't suddenly stop going up. This thing was hurrying up, aiming to go, 100 miles or something, get into orbit.
So it didn't run out of fuel?
Didn't run out of fuel. You hear it go, dunk.
Okay, so it actually hits something.
Yes.
Okay.
And when Admiral Byrd came back from Antarctica, the first thing that America and Russia did was fire nuclear missiles straight up.
Yeah.
And you can see from the footage, if an explosion happens in midair, there's a fireball that expands. You don't see that. You see a ring expanding out. So it's expanding against something. So it can't become a fireball. It's got to conform to what it's hitting.
And have you ever been on like a long haul flight in which you're like 30,000 feet up in the air?
I do it a lot.
And when you see the horizon, do you see a flat line or do you see a bend?
I see a flat line, at eye level, which can't happen on a globe.
Okay.
Right? So, now people say they see a curvature when they look out of a plane window, but you know what? Before you take off, you're on the runway, look out your window, look at the edge of the runway, you'll see it curve slightly. It's because of the curved glass. There's like a curved glass there, and inside 2 layers of curved glass in there, straight.
Okay, and then I genuinely believe you're being authentic and you believe everything you're saying.
Absolutely.
So like, if I was you, I'd be massively curious to actually go out and try and document evidence of the ice wall. I was wondering, have you considered that? Or?
Well, I can't afford to go to Antarctica, and you can go to package tours of Antarctica, which will take you to the outer islands. There's like off New Zealand and South America. There's this like a little zone you can go to, and there's a barbershop pole that they call the South Pole, even though they'll say that's not the South Pole, somewhere near, it's just a symbolic one. Right? But you can't go any further. It's military control.
So you think that if you had the resources to fly there and have some sort of Range Rover to drive up the landmass, you would get stuck by...
You do. There's a guy called Jarl Anderhoy who tried twice to do it. He got turned back by the military twice and died heavily for doing it.
And how long was this? Do you know?
I think the last time was 2007. I can't remember.
It's happened.
Yeah, Jarl Anderhoy.
And then, I think that was pretty much all the questions I asked.
I'll tell you, I'm not stupid. I was a computer programmer electronic engineer, I've done graphic design, a few other jobs, I didn't want to become a flat earther, you know. I didn't want to put myself in for this ridicule. But when you find stuff out that you can't explain according to the scientific model, you know, you either got to say something or shut the hell up. And I can't shut up.
But like, all of the scientists that are saying that it's spherical, like you've got to say that like not all of them are like sort of going along with the myth that goes through. There are some honest.
How do you become a scientist?
You study.
You study and you answer questions on a test. If you were to answer questions on a test from a flat Earth perspective, do you think you become a scientist?
Well, no.
Because the questions are, you know, well, but if you answer those questions from a flat Earth perspective, the answers will be wrong, according to them, and you wouldn't become a scientist.
Are there two different scientific narratives that are going on then?
No, in order to be a scientist, you have to believe the prevailing view of science. Otherwise, you won't become a scientist.
But I thought that the whole point of science was that, like, you all share in the sort of scientific method, like you just subscribe to evidence.
That's the point, but that's not what happens now. Yeah. In order to become a scientist, you've got to have the prevailing view. Otherwise, you won't pass the tests. You won't get the exam results. You won't get the certificates. You won't become a scientist.
Okay, but what about there must be like some portion of scientists that go along with, like, they toe the line. So they answer all the questions right, and they finally graduate and they get into a scientific job, and then they think, hold on a minute, like, even though I've been going along with all this, like, I still am authentically inquisitive about the world. And then are those the people who join your movement then later on?
We have scientists who are saying, actually, we can't find chemistry either. But if they come out, if they actually come out, they won't get funding. They'd lose their position. They'd lose their reputation.
I mean, there's somewhat a similar phenomenon that's going on in the social sciences. So, like, I come from a philosophical background, and it's classified as a social science, which is not really. But effectively, in universities, like, you have to toe the line and sort of subscribe to a certain narrative of politics. Otherwise, you're just sort of outed as an outcast, and they will just say, "Don't give him any platform" or whatever. And so, I can totally sympathise with that part of the argument.
And that is the whole of science. You know, you toe the line, or you get blackballed. You know.
So there's not really any freedom or room for sort of dissenting opinions.
No.
Sort of conflict with the
Well, there was a guy, and I just debated this guy, a guy called Dr. Robertson Sanginis, who made a film called The Principle, and he interviewed a lot of the mainstream scientists about the phenomenon of the cosmic background radiation, which all pointed to the Earth being in the centre of the universe. Okay,
Believe this?
Well, yes, because this is the universe, But he actually got all these mainstream scientists. He basically tricked them into basically saying that yes, everything is pointing here. We're in the centre of the universe. And then when the film came out and it's saying that it's a geocentric system we're in, all the scientists said no, we didn't say that. We didn't mean that. We didn't mean it. But obviously they did, because that's what they said. So yes, as soon as you go against the prevailing mainstream system, you're going to end up out of science.
And there are certain theories that have a tremendous amount of evidence for your favourite that would go against your narrative. Where, I mean, you're familiar with people like Steve Hawking, Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein came up with this theory of special relativity, where it's like the universe in one location and another location in two separate states of affairs simultaneously, right? So, like, this end of speaks on and someone at the other end speaks on this, like, simultaneously experiencing the universe in, like, slightly two different states of affairs, right? And so, like, he's measured that other parts of the universe correlate to that. So,
okay, well, that's essentially bullshit. It's the theory, assumption built on assumption built on assumption. Okay. Now, the proof of it, Einstein being absolutely wrong, is an experiment called LIGO. which is laser interferometry gravitational observatory. Yeah. So literally, they've got a laser, and that laser gets its beam split into two, and it goes down two legs about 1.5 miles long. Yeah. Bounced off a mirror, comes back, gets recombined, and shot at a screen. Yeah. And if there's any difference, then you get an interference pattern on the screen. Yeah? So the idea is if a gravity wave goes through and it goes this way and not that way, then it will shorten that leg, so the beam will arrive at a different time to the other one, and then you'll get an interference pattern. Okay.
So was it uniform?
Well, no. They just recently, a couple of years ago, they said we found the gravitational wave. Yeah. So they're saying that the gravitational wave went down one leg, shortened that leg, and the beam arrived at a different time, and you got an interference pattern. Right? Einstein said though that gravity waves propagate in space-time, not space. So when the leg got shortened, time, right, slowed down. So the speed of light remains the same. So that beam would have arrived exactly the same time. So it can't possibly detect gravity waves that way.
Yeah.
So
I'd love to look into the experiment LIGO,
yes. So literally, it disproved Einstein's idea, because there's no way you can detect gravity waves that way using a laser.
And Stephen Hawking did a lot of stuff on radiation, gravity, and looked into black holes a lot of the time. And you think that black holes are just...
Isn't it convenient? Isn't it convenient that you have these black holes and dark energy and dark matter that you cannot see, detect, but they're in exactly the right proportions to make their suns work out?
To make their suns work out?
Yeah, because according to gravity, this theory of gravity, the universe doesn't make sense. That's why they invented black holes, invented dark matter and dark energy to account for this massive glaring mistake. That, the galaxies and stuff do not conform to gravity. So it's a construct. It's made up, and nobody can go and test it because you can't detect it.
Yeah. And aside from this, did you take part in a debate where it was like versus like they were PhD students? Yeah, I watched it. It was really quite entertaining.
Yes, it was. I enjoyed myself immensely.
And have you got anything else like that planned in the future? Or?
Well, I've got a couple more. Yeah, I'm going to a conference in Denver, Colorado, and I think they're going to do something similar there.
Yeah.
And I've been in a couple of debates since then with that Sanjinis guy. He believes in a geocentric system, but it's a geocentric Earth, ball in space that's not moving in his model, which again doesn't make an awful lot of sense.
A lot of interesting theories.
Yes.
It is very interesting seeing everyone hash it out.
But one of the things you find though, when you look into some of the theories that we believe, there's no consensus on it. I asked 12 questions to Neil deGrasse Tyson in one of my videos, and I get loads of people saying, "Oh, I know the answers to these," and they give. I've got like a whole set of answers that are all different.
Yeah.
So if there's one truth, and we've got this one truth, how come nobody seems to know what that one truth is?
So within the flat Earth community, is there a lot of disagreement over the exact ins and outs?
There's a lot of speculation about the things that we can't test at the moment.
Okay.
We don't know. We can't go up high enough to see what's going on in the sun.
Yeah.
We don't know what's beyond Antarctica.
And who's the most sort of powerful flat Earth?
There's a guy called Eric Dubay. Who's got a lot of content out there.
Has he tried, being able to provide conclusive evidence to the masses that we do live on a flat Earth? Is it in his power? Does he have the financial power? Or?
200 proofs of the flat Earth. He's got a book called 200 proofs of the flat Earth. And I myself have gone out and done experiments, including one over Lake Balaton in Hungary, where we had an industrial laser and we fired it across the lake, 12 kilometres, and we found there was no curvature whatsoever. And the evidence is there. We've got every photograph we took of the boat with a beam on it has GPS coordinates, so you can track it along the lake, see exactly where we were, what results we're getting at every point, and there's no doubt that we couldn't find curvature over 12 kilometres. It should have been 64 feet or something like that, and we lost to nothing.
And did you take anyone with you on this experiment that was from the other side, so that they would be able to, I don't know, sort of counteract any investigative bias? Because a lot of the times when you have an investigation and you're all on the same side, then you'll try and actively look out for evidence in support of you. So whereas if you had, say, a group of 5 of you and then 2 of them were sort of round earthers or whatever, then that might be quite useful, because then you could have someone moderate what's going on.
The round earthers usually just go, no, I don't accept this. They just go, no, contradict. But a lot of people repeated that experiment, including that particular experiment on Lake Balaton. A group called FE Core did another experiment. I think they got 14 kilometres. And there's a documentary that came out. It's kind of a bullshit documentary, but one good thing they did do is they took actual scientists out and performed the same kind of experiments.
Yeah.
And these scientists were going, can't find any curvature. So if you find it, I think it's the convex Earth or something. Convex Earth theory. That's out there. So it's been done.
Well, can I take one of your flyers?
Absolutely.
Go and listen to some other interesting people.
If you, I'm known as Allegedly Dave. If you put my name into YouTube or Google, you'll find I've done a couple of videos about this, including one called The Biggest Lie of All. It's a good sort of starting place.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Take it easy.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.